Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast. And today we've completed day one and day two of mandatory minicamp. And tomorrow is the last day of mandatory minicamp, and then they're off for until training camp, which is going to be roughly around late July. That's typically when training camp starts. The official dates have not been announced yet, but once I get that information, I'll post it on Twitter, let you guys know. And that's when we'll really get a lot more information as far as how the offense and defense is doing, those key position battles. We'll go and deep dive a little bit into that in future videos. But mandatory minicamp is just an opportunity kind of for the coaches. Everybody obviously has to get together. And so an opportunity for the coaches to kind of see where the players are at. I think, part of it is, how are they in shape? Have they retained, what they were, from the offense from last year, defensive schemes, just kind of get reacquainted. So I'm excited to go over some stuff with you guys. And then again, if you have you want to get in the comments, so let me know what you want to talk about and give me your opinions. Also, subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps grow the channel. I want to be able to build a community where I can just get on here, communicate with you guys, have fun, have a good time. All right. Without further ado. So we're going to go over some NFL news real quick. So if you guys haven't heard, Shamar Stewart, who was the first-round pick for the Cincinnati Bengals, he was the 17th overall pick. He still hasn't signed his contract and is not participating in mandatory minicamp. He is there, but just watching. He's going through installs, like he's watching from the sideline, going to the classroom, but just not participating in team drills. And Trey Hendrickson, if you guys remember, he's the edge rusher for the Bengals. He had 17 and a half sacks last season. The season before that, he isn't there either. So Shamar Stewart, obviously we all knew, if you've kept track a little bit, the Bengals defense is kind of depleted. So this guy is either going to be the guy that's either going to be alongside Trey Hendrickson or his replacement. And neither of them are on the field practicing right now. You can clearly see in an interview with him that he was clearly frustrated when they're asking him questions. He really pretty pissed off about it, and pretty much I'm gonna bring up his interview real quick, and I'll share a screen here in a minute. But I want to show you an interview you had, and you can just tell this guy's just like down the dumps, like upset. So let me share the screen here.
I actually have no idea. I really don't know.
What have you been doing to stay locked in? And there's only so much that can replicate on the field reps, but what have you been doing to make sure that you're actually locked in when you're out there, knowing that you can't do anything?
I still go to meetings. I still study my playbook, taking on the right notes. And then whenever I get some free time, I'll go out to train at Black Sheep.
Is it fair to say at this point that you will not step foot on the practice field in practice until you're signed?
Yes.
Good for you.
Very bad. I mean, I've been doing this for most of my whole life, and then all of a sudden it's gone over something very simple to fix. It's kind of disappointing.
Have they given you
So from what I gathered, and Pat McAfee did a clip of this a couple of days ago talking about this, and some guys gave this guy some crap about him not signing his contract, and I think even Pat McAfee did the same thing, where he's like, "Who does this guy think he is? Like, sign the contract. It's black and white. Pretty much wherever you are selected at overall, that is your paycheck. Like, it's very straightforward." But I guess the Bengals, you have lawyers, and there is some verbiage that they are allowed to change in the contract that can possibly change a little bit as far as overall what they're able to pay. Something about voided years. I'm not a lawyer, how to know what the contract is, but basically the Bengals are trying to finagle the contract to pay this guy less money. That's basically what they're doing to be able to get themselves an out. And with the history with the Bengals, taking forever to pay Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and now you're playing hardball with Trey Hendrickson, who is obviously like one of the best edge rushers in the game, and now your first round pick. Like you look like a shit stain of an organization doing this. Like, if you're just this just makes the owner look cheap. To me, this is ownership. This isn't a GM. This isn't a coach. This is ownership trying to change something. They're trying to create a precedent and be able to make him an example to be able to change things moving forward. And him and his agent should stay fast, because why would he do that? And of course, and the Bengals are the last organization to even try to want to do this, because of the history, again, of how they conduct business. This is literally like if you worked at a company and they are trying to squeeze as much out of you work-wise, and they want to pay you as least as possible, and they have a history of doing this. Like, this poor guy he probably didn't even want to be drafted by the Bengals. And now that he's in the situation, he's remaining professional. He's answering questions. He's being honest, but he's being professional at the same time. Like, the guy just needs to go to work. And it sounds like it's very, the most likely this will get worked out, but this just makes the Bengals look absolutely ridiculous. And this is going to hurt your future free agent acquisitions, because who the hell will want to come to play with you? No one's going to come to this team for a prove-it deal. No one's unless you have fully guaranteed contract. No one's going to entertain wanting to come to this team. It's a joke. If you're that poor, whoever the owner is for the Bengals, I don't know your name. If you're that cheap, dude, sell the team. Sell the team. That's what you should do, because you're making yourself look bad, and honestly, it's making the NFL look bad. So this is something I saw a couple days ago, and I hope he stays fast. I'm sure he will, but I just thought this was a ridiculous thing for the Bengals to do. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. So we got some other news. So Nick Chubb signed with the Texans. So Nick, he signed a 1-year deal with the Texans worth $2.5 million. That could be up to $5 million with incentives. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, but does he have anything in the tank? He's dealt with a lot of injuries in the past. Somewhat recently, he's dealt with a severe knee injury. He had him back in 2023. He broke a foot in 2024 last year. And the running back room is kind of crowded. You got Joe Mixon. Obviously, he's the starter. They drafted a rookie named Woody Marks. And then they picked up a guy, drafted a guy several years ago, Damian Pierce. I believe he played for Florida. I can't remember exactly, but they're saying that he could be out. I think this is a good thing. Like, the Texans are already always trying to add. It seems like since they know that CJ Stroud is their guy, they're a playoff contending team. They're trying to add pieces, which I would be. Any fan base wants you to do that. So if this guy can, if Nick Chubb can be who he was, or at least a part of it, I think this is a really, really good signing for the Texans. So, it's a pretty friendly deal, $2.5 million for the year guaranteed. That's not bad. Not bad at all. But what CJ Stroud needs is more offensive linemen. I did read that what was his name? Will Anderson, I forget the other edge rusher that they have, that the edge rushers were eating up the tackles in minicamp so far. So that's what Stroud really needs. You need to give your guy some protection. Learn from us. Bryce was horrible without protection. Now look at him. We got Shaq Thompson signing with the Panther North. This is pretty much like where all the Carolina Panthers leave and go to. This is the North Panthers. So Shaq Thompson signed a 1-year deal. I'm not sure the particulars of the contract, but he's getting opportunity up there. I'm glad he's healthy. He's gone through a lot of health issues the last several years. Obviously, he knows Sean McDermott up there. So, if he stays healthy, he's a great linebacker, but we are obviously moving in a different direction with this youth movement. So, glad that he got an opportunity, but we actually are going to play them this season. So we'll be able to see the Shaq will be at the bank later this year. So I'm sure he'll get a warm welcome, but I'm sure there'll be some fans that boo him because once you leave and go to another team, even though the Panthers let you go, hater mode. So Shaq Thompson to the Bills. I think this is great for him, great for the Bills. You're getting a good player, captain, good veteran in there. So I feel like this is a win-win for both sides. And then we got Jermaine Pratt. So Jermaine Pratt signed with the Raiders today. It was a 1-year deal worth up $4.78 million. This was a guy that I could possibly see, before he signed with the Raiders, that I'm like, okay, I can possibly see us bringing him on. We have Josie Jewell. This guy, I believe, is 29. Josie Jewell is 30, but with the history of injuries with Josie Jewell, he was out for 2, 3, 4 games, and then Trevor Wallace had some injuries last year. He wasn't out too long, but just with those injuries and the lack of depth, I feel like this will be an upgrade if we did sign him over Josie Jewell, in my opinion. But, sign with the Raiders. That was just a potential free agent that could have came here, but now off the market. So I think that's a pretty good deal. He did sign, I believe it was like a 3-year, $23 million contract back in March in 2023. So, before he was signed, my guess was like 5 to 8 million per year. So just under 5. I mean, that's a pretty good friendly contract. So Raiders get a pretty good linebacker, and he is a really good tackler from what I read. He was like 7th in tackles last season, all over the place. So good player, but picked up by the Raiders, not the Panthers. But we need something more than a linebacker, and I'll go over that in a second. So the disrespect with I saw this on Twitter, and the disrespect from JC Horn, and this kind of aggravated me a little bit, and I feel like the person, I don't know, what's this guy's name, John Costco. He should go on his website and look up what his company, like his stats, like he like, I don't know if he's just like, if this is just personal or if you're actually look at your rankings, but I actually pulled up the PFF rankings for JC Horn last year. So JC Horn was asked about yesterday what his thoughts were about PFF taking him out of the top 10, and he pretty much he had nothing to say about it. But the most disrespectful, like, okay, not top 10, not top 15, not top 20. Top 25, they ranked him at corner. So I went through some stats and went through some rankings and I want to go with you guys. So JC Horn pretty much played the whole season. He played 15 games, so he's able to stay pretty much injury free. He had 49 solo tackles, 68 total. He had five tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 pick, 13 passes defended, and 9 pass breakups. Not bad. Solid. His completion percentage allowed is 4th lowest among corners. He allowed only 45.8% completion percentage. 4th lowest. Yards allowed he allowed last season, 289 yards on 22 receptions, and he was targeted 48 times. He has only allowed 289 yards. But PFF overall, they ranked him 65.4, which is average-ish. Pass rush was 86.9, which they had him top 10 among corners. Run defense, they had 80, was 13th among corners. And then coverage was 59, which was middle of the pack. But then I did some more digging because we all know how Evero, I feel like, again, JC Horn is a solid player, especially when he's healthy. But how is he with man? Because we all want him to travel with the number 1 guy, which he didn't do that often. But when he did, he was 3rd among cornerbacks. His PFF grade was 3rd among quarterbacks overall when he was in man coverage. His passer rating was 39.6 when he was in man. He only allowed 3 receptions. 3 in man coverage. He was targeted 11 times. That's how many. So he played man coverage probably like 10-15% of the time. When he did, he dominated. So this tells me overall, looking at this, how can you have this guy 25th overall? It's just disrespectful, and I just think it's just a lazy analysis of rankings among players. You got Jaire Alexander that's been out the last 2 seasons and has only played 7 games per season, and they have him ranked 9th. And we'll talk about him in a minute. But 25th? But this also shows me when I was deep digging into these stats, why are we not allowing him? We better allow him to play man this year. There should be no excuse. You got Mike Jackson, especially if we make a signing at corner. There should be no reason why we should not allow this guy to travel and play more man. So this tells me, again, is Evero's scheme really does his scheme allow JC Horn to play to his strengths? No. But again, last year, outlier because our team was trash. Our defensive team was garbage. So this is, again, looking at these stats tells me, Evero, you better adapt and modify what you're doing because you have a dog at corner. Use them. But I thought this was interesting. You have him at 25th. So hopefully that adds some fuel to JC Horn this season. Hopefully he can, again, stay healthy and prove the doubters wrong. But I couldn't believe that when I saw that. Okay. Speaking of Jaire Alexander, so Jaire was released by the Packers a couple days ago. He's currently a free agent. During Dave Canales' interview, he mentioned how they're open to adding to the secondary, but I agree with what he said. He said it has to be for the right price and it has to make sense for both sides. Sounds like it sounds like Jaire is trying to get a big payday, which I don't blame him. Like, we all want a big payday. But we'll see what the market says. Again, I mentioned earlier, Jaire has only played 14 games the last 2 seasons. He played 7 games in 2023, 7 games in 2024. He had a quad and groin injury that took him out week in 4 and 5. And then he tore his PCL in his right knee, his posterior cruciate ligament, in week 8. And then week 11, he tried to come back, but re-aggravated the knee after 10 snaps. So New Year's Eve last year, he had arthroscopic surgery, which caused him to miss the playoff games as well. If the Packers made a push to the Super Bowl, he could have played. But after the surgery, he was out. So last season, with only 7 games played, he had 15 tackles, 2 picks, 1 for a touchdown, 1 forced fumble, and 2 pass deflections. His PFF grade overall is 75.2. His coverage grade is 78.3, and his run defense grade is 57.8. So, again, it's going to have to be for the right price. He was released, so we don't have to make any type of trades. But to me, with this injury history, this makes it tricky. Obviously, on the field, he's a top 10 corner. I do agree with the PFF stats. I agree he belongs in the top 10 as a talent when he's on the field. But just like JC Horn before last season, can he stay healthy? Because if he can, and you have JC Horn on one side and Jaire Alexander on the other side, that gives Evero so much versatility on defense in a lot of different ways. And I'll kind of go over that in a little bit. But that just makes our defense so much better. And now it's a really strong defense. But what is the amount and what are the years that we're looking for? Because he's 28 years old. He's not old, but he's not super young either. And he's injury prone. So again, it's going to depend on the market. Can it be for, a prove-it deal? He's from the Carolinas, so maybe he can give us a hometown discount. But again, it's going to be up to the market. I think he definitely wants to play here. Yesterday, some of the PSL owners, they went to an event called Chalk Talk, and basically there was several former Panther players there. There was Evero, Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator, Brad Idzik, and somebody else. I can't remember his name. But there was a fan that yelled out in the crowd that said Jaire, and Evero kind of gave him a point. So they're definitely communicating. We're definitely in talks with him. It's just a matter of how much interest there is and does it align with him and us? Does it make sense? And again, it's going to be up to the market. So that would be cool to get a Jaire Alexander signing before training camp. And I know I've heard some people say they're like, well, if we sign Jaire, he's going to be behind Mike Jackson. No, he's not. I promise you, he's not. He's going to be starting CB2 unless he's injured. He's not backup corner. He's starter. So this would put Mike Jackson as depth, which I think is great. Mike Jackson is to me, an average corner. He played well for us whenever he was asked to play when we had a lot of injuries last season, but he's someone that you want to be able to upgrade at CB2 with, but he's someone that I would love for him to be our backup cornerback, not our starting cornerback, with all due respect to Mike Jackson. But this is something I can definitely see happening. I would say it's like a 50-50 shot. I feel like this is more plausible and more likely to happen as far as us signing Jaire compared to Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey, I don't think that's going to happen at all. But again, you never know. But I think this is the most likely if it does happen. Okay, so we obviously had mandatory minicamp that started yesterday, and then we had practice. They had practice today, and we have one more day tomorrow, and then after that, it's a break until training camp. Again, training camp will be roughly around late July, but mandatory minicamp, obviously it's mandatory. I really didn't see any reports of any player that didn't come in at all thus far. Again, this is just an opportunity for the players just to be quickly evaluated before they break and head to training camp. Again, have they retained knowledge of the offense? Are they in shape? Those type of things. It's nothing that's like true evaluation until you get them in pads. That's when we're in training camp happens. That's where I feel like we're gonna get a lot more information from the beat writers, because again, podcasters are not allowed at the training camp this year and next year due to the location and things under construction. But the beat writers do a good job covering both Mike K, Joe Person, Sheena Quick, all those guys. They do a great job. So we'll be dependent on them giving us really good information, both good and bad. But that's where we're going to really know where this team is at, is in training camp. And again, minicamp traditionally has longer practices. They have more team-oriented drills. They definitely compare to OTAs. And it gives you a little bit more insight. So I would say OTAs is kind of like a warm-up, just kind of going through installs, that type of thing. And then mandatory minicamp is just going through some small, light drills, no pads. But training camp, again, that's where you see the pads. Come on. Let's talk about some injuries. So we have Derek Brown and Jimmy Horn Jr. They're both sidelined yesterday and today. Derek Brown is just going through his rehab. Everything seems like it's going well with his knee. Remember, he had a right meniscus tear that ended his season last season. And he's just going through the rehab part of it. And I think they'll even bring him on slowly for training camp. Again, this is something you just want to take slow. You want to be smart with it, because this guy is huge with him coming back healthy, stronger. He's huge to our defense. We missed him greatly last season. So we just got to be smart with that. If you remember Jimmy Horn, he aggravated his hamstring during OTAs. So he's our speed guy. With a speed guy, you don't need a lingering hamstring issue. So they're smart just kind of letting him go in through the rehab, going through things on the sideline while the teams are doing drills, just kind of getting back into just going through the flow of things until he's fully healed. So Jimmy Horn, I think is definitely going to be competing for a wide receiver position, as far as already know we have T-Mac, Jalen Coker, XL, Adam Thielen, Hunter Renfro has been looking really good. You got, obviously, Jimmy Horn's been looking good. Are they going to pick 6 or 7? We don't know. I think a lot's going to depend on how these receivers play in camp. But what really gives Jimmy Horn Jr. an edge is his ability to return and be a punt returner, kick returner. Special teams is big, so can't have a hamstring issue with as a speed guy. So they're going through their thing. Then we got DJ Wanham that was able to go back out there. I saw him. I saw that he was out there the first day of mandatory minicamp, but I didn't really hear anything about it today. But no one reported that he wasn't out there, so I'm assuming he was still going through installs. But he was out there practicing and recovering after a back issue that he had. If you guys obviously remember, he was out a lot last year because he had that quad tear back in 2023 with the Vikings. Then he had a knee issue. Obviously, he had complications from the quad tear and surgeries and stuff, but then had a knee issue during the season. They had a hamstring issue. So, again, it's just smart for the Panthers to take it slow with Wanham as well. It's only June. Obviously, we all know whenever he came back last season when he was finally healthy, he was very effective. So having him healthy this year, if he can be really healthy this year, it's going to be huge for our defense. Obviously health is a big contributor and helping factor for all teams, but he was very effective, and he was a big breath of fresh air whenever he did come back from his injury because our pass rush was garbage. So him, Pat Jones being able to be vets and lead by example in the field, and then having him obviously in the rotation with Princely and Scorton, this is huge. So just be smart with them. Then T-Mac. So T-Mac, he had a little bit of a injury to yesterday. I guess he hit some guy accidentally kicked him in the leg, and that's where it bothered him a little bit. And this morning, I guess it kind of swelled up on him, so they were just taking it easy. But it did sound like Dave Canales wasn't too worried about it because he said he expects him or hopes that he gets him back tomorrow. So it sounds like it's just like a little bony contusion, just a little bit of swelling, nothing crazy. So a little bit of a scare there. I'm glad that it's nothing because we don't want that. And then another person I'm thinking of right now before I go to the next slide is Tommy Tremble. So Tommy Tremble, from what I've gathered, and I know there's a lot of mixed things, a lot of mixed things said, but Tommy Tremble he obviously had back surgery. He was going through some issues. He had back surgery May last month, getting his back cleaned out, and he will start his rehab process on training camp. So right now he's just resting, but he's starting his rehab process on training camp. So I don't really see him contributing, or being a part of training camp. If anything, I can see him play a little bit of the preseason games, like maybe a little bit, but I think they'll honestly probably bring him back around week 1 and slowly add more to that because they're not in a rush to bring him back. He signed a 2-year deal, a pretty nice 2-year deal. I think it was like $8 million guaranteed. You got JT Saunders, who's been looking really good out there. He looks thinner, faster. Hopefully he's strong as well. And then you have Mitchell Evans that you signed at this past draft. That's I believe he was a 5th round pick that he should have been drafted higher, but he had injuries. So he kind of fell in the draft. But my point is basically you have other tight ends that are able to contribute. You're not really dying without Tommy Tremble. So they just need to be smart with him and bring him back because if I don't know if I guess you're going to carry 3 tight ends, but that's a pretty good group. So, and they're young. So just, again, it's June, take it easy, but I don't think you're really going to see Tommy Tremble in training camp. I think you're going to see him maybe sprinkled in the preseason, maybe. But I think it'll be more like beginning of the season and slow, gradual, maybe like within, a couple weeks to 4 weeks. That's when you'll see him go full on as long as everything goes okay. All right. And then yesterday there was a little bit of a scare. So I remember when I was at work, I was on Twitter and I saw a video of him catching the ball. He was doing a slant to his right and he hobbled a little bit. And at first I wasn't sure if that was a hamstring or a foot, but it ended up being his foot. I'm not sure if it was the surgical foot or not, but it ended up being his foot. But he was able to go back out there and continue to practice. So again, a little tweak, but as a Panther fan, obviously with the history of him being injured in training camp last year, you don't want this to happen. Injuries are part of the game. It sucks when they happen, but you don't want it to happen to you. So, especially when you have XL that's having hopefully has a big season this year. He continues to develop. I just want him to get those important reps because I think that is important for him for his development. But he looks good out there. He looks like he's very twitchy. He's very explosive. He's a fast runner. I depending on how much of an improvement he is, because again, with his route running and separation, it greatly improved throughout the season. So if you're able to have him fix the drops, to me, I think he'll be wide receiver 1 and T-Mac will be wide receiver 2 or 1A, 1B. But right now, I am loving what I'm seeing from XL. Obviously, T-Mac, you can just see he's got the nice elite hands. He moves. He like somebody that's not 6'4" in his size. He moves pretty well. But this again, I'm just glad this wasn't a big issue. He was able to go back to the practice field, and but this was a picture of him with a shoe off, and the training. Someone part of the training staff was checking him out. But again, I'm glad it was nothing serious. We don't want that. Okay, so we already talked about Tommy Tremble here. So again, let's see if he comes back in the preseason or not. Again, he's started rehabbing during training camp, and then I think he may be sprinkled into the preseason, but I think it'll be more so week 1. Okay, so yesterday and today there have been a few players, former players that have come in and watched the practices and watched minicamp. So yesterday, this is a picture courteous of Darren Gant on Twitter. You have obviously Dan Morgan here, but then you got John Beeson, KK Short, Mushin Muhammad. You have Mike Tolbert there, Captain Mutterland, Charles Johnson, Trey Boston, Kirk Coleman, and then today you had Josh Norman. So I thought that was pretty cool. These are the players that went to the Chalk Talk and met with PSL owners and took pictures and talked with some fans, and they had a little greet thing. So I thought that was pretty cool that they do that. Basically even back to the PSL owners, but it was cool to kind of see the old school great players out there checking out the new players. So I thought it was pretty cool. Okay. What I did love seeing was Bryce Young and JC Horn the other day were jawing each other. They had a little jawing match during practice. Chuba was involved with it as well, but it was all love. JC was all smiles talking about it the other day during his interview. I just love seeing that energy out of Bryce. That tells me, one, he's comfortable, which is what we want. We want Bryce to be comfortable and confident because we saw how great he was the back half of the season. But I like that energy. That's going to bring the best out of both sides of the ball. It's going to bring the best out of Bryce in the offense, JC Horn in the defense. And then actually today, Jacoby George, who's one of the wide receivers battling a 6'7" wide receiver spot, but I believe, in all honesty, will be a practice squad guy. But he had a pretty good catch along the front of the field, and Lathan Ransom knocked it loose and recovered the ball. And there was a little bit of the offense and the defense that got into it, and a few guys got in each other's faces. So I like that energy as long as it's, under control, nothing too crazy. But at the same time, if y'all remember back in 2015, we had a Super Bowl run, we had that big, huge fight between Cam Newton and Josh Norman. So I like this energy. I like it brings the best out of the players. It brings a little bit of the, energy, attitude. And this is what I like to see. I love to see this. So let's talk about minicamp a little bit. So Bryce Young, he looked good out there. Yesterday he had a couple little duck throws that I saw, but overall, he looked really good. He had a back-to-back touchdown throws from Young that Bryce Young had to Legette in the back of the end zone, and then the second one was needle through traffic. Bryce Young had a really beautiful ball at in 11-11 on 11 drills to David Moore for a touchdown during the red zone drills. And then his red zone session, he was 3 for 3 for 2 touchdowns. So I love to see this again. He's not getting hit, he's not getting rushed, but it's just nice to see this. But also, I like seeing that the defense is making plays too. I don't want to see just offense, right? And then obviously, Dave Canales and Bryce Young, they're going to sprinkle a little bit things differently that they mentioned during OTAs. They're kind of going to tweak the offense a little bit. But yesterday you saw a little bit more from the offense, and then today the defense was able to adjust and they're making plays. You had Trayvon Moore, which was the safety we picked up from the Raiders. He intercepted a ball by Bryce Young early in team drills. It was he read a middle wide receiver screen to Hunter Renfrow. He just read perfectly. He got a great jump on it, plucked it out of the air, and took it to the house. So if that was a game, it would have been a pick six. And then J.C. Horn obviously was pretty loud after that. Adam Thielen, it continues to look like Adam Thielen. Jalen Coker, he had a pretty big catch in traffic first day of minicamp, and he also looked really fast out there. And so you can kind of see the soft tissue injury that he had several days ago. It kind of seems like it's mostly resolved. So it's good to see him healthy and running out there. You had Shamar Bartholomew. So he is one of the backup corners that's fighting for a spot. He had an interception for the second week in a row. He picked off Andy Dalton. Then you had Kobe Hudson, supposedly had a really good day today. He had 2 nice catches in 11-11 drills, and he made a really nice mid-range catch in 7s off of the Dalton throw. So, again, I like that, again, there's nothing – I don't read too much into this. I just like that, I'm able to see and read that Bryce Young is able to thread the needle. Again, it's a balance of offense and defense making plays. So again, I don't look too much into this until training camp. And in training camp, if I see something where, oh man, I keep seeing that this guy gets beat, or this guy can't get open and separate, then I start to worry about it a little bit, because you're in pads now. This, I don't read too much into this, but it's just kind of good to see both sides of the ball making plays. But from what I've read, the off-season MVP for the team so far is Shaw Smith-Wade. I've heard a lot of good things out of Shaw Smith-Wade. He has been the talk again of the OTAs and minicamp so far. J.C. Horn said during the presser that Shaw Smith-Wade has been the most impressive player so far this season. If y'all recall, Shaw Smith-Wade played when Troy Hill went down last season around week 13. He started to get more playing time and played well and seemed to develop as the season went on. He never played nickel. So he was playing nickel for us last season. He only played corner, but he only started nickel when we drafted him last year. Dave Canales even mentioned that Shaw took advantage of an opportunity. He made tackles. He owned his leverage for the most part. There are things that he still has to clean up. He had an opportunity on an interception, and he made it, and he came up with the ball. He was really proud of that, proud of him just taking advantage of another opportunity. But by the end of the season last year, Shaw Smith-Wade had started 4 games, and including 3 in a row on the back half of the season before an injury placed him on IR. He had like an illness and a chest injury, and he was out. So in his 14 games, Shaw Smith-Wade had 39 tackles, a pick, and a pass deflection. You had defensive passing game coordinator Jonathan Cooley. He did mention how he looks very comfortable in the defense right now, that he has pretty much how he's been playing has allowed them to be more versatile with him. So they've had him line up in nickel, safety, corner. They say he communicates very well and he's playing faster. He could be the starting nickel, but I've heard Mike Case say this when I found it interesting, that he believes that Trayvon Moore could be a nickel guy. I understand we picked him up at safety, but again, it's nice to have versatile players. So you have Shaw Smith-Wade that's played nickel, corner, safety. So I think they can use him when you have that versatility. You can use that to your advantage and have certain disguises. So this is nice. I love, and I hope I continue to hear that he continues to develop. And this, again, will give Evero a lot more ammunition to do different things. So hopefully he keeps it up. But I love that this guy is just continuing to improve, because, again, if he's playing so well and continues to develop and play at a high level, they may feel very comfortable with him being like kind of like a backup corner. So if JC Horn goes down or Mike Jackson goes down, he's played corner before. So they may say, hey, we don't need Jaire. We get the answers on the roster. You never know. But if we do get Jaire or if we get Jalen Ramsey, you will see a lot more versatility in the defense. So again, we'll see, but it's just nice to see that Shaw Smith-Wade is really playing well. And, it looks like he's comfortable out there. Again, you want players to be comfortable out there. They're going to play faster. They're not second-guessing each other or themselves. So we have Ryan Fitzpatrick. So day one, this is the undrafted free agent that we picked up this year. So Ryan Fitzgerald. Ryan Fitzgerald yesterday, he was kicking at a skinny post, which the skinny post is pretty much like half the length of a normal goal post. And he went 5 for 5 on field goals. He had a 52-yarder and a 55-yarder and made all 5 of them. To me, that was a nice redemption from OTAs because I did read that he didn't do well when the beat writers were out there. So this is nice that to see this. But today he was 3 of 5 on field goals. He missed wide left at 47 and he missed wide right by maybe a torch. They said maybe a touch short at 52. And it was at the again, he was hitting at the narrow goalpost. So I don't know if it was a normal goalpost, if he would have made him or not, but hopefully, I'm really rooting for this kid. He was really good in college. Hopefully he will continue to develop and be consistent. This is definitely something for me to watch and to pay close attention to with how he does in training camp and definitely preseason. So this will be a fun battle because it's between him and Matthew Wright that we got from Tennessee. And if we're able to let Ryan Fitzgerald, if he's able to win the job, you're not paying that guy that much. You're paying the guy $200,000 to be your kicker. So versus Matthew Wright, which would be like $1 million or $2 million. So rooting for the guy. Hope he can make it. But 5 for 5 yesterday, 3 of 5 today. So he is 8 of 10 from pretty much 45 to 55. Not terrible. Not terrible. And this want to kind of go over Dave Canales' pressers. He mentioned a couple of other things. So he mentioned how JT Sanders has looked really, really good. It could be a big year for him. He's slimmed down. He looks, again, just in really good shape. JT Sanders is more of a pass catching tight end. Now, him losing weight, does that affect his strength? Hopefully not, because him as a blocking tight end was really a struggle at the beginning of last season. But as the season developed and continued to go, he was getting better as a blocking tight end, but still there's room improvement for that. And then we saw after his neck injury, he wasn't the same. Like he was still making plays towards the end of the season, but it wasn't the same the first half of the season. So hopefully he can get back into that, because if he can, that's a huge boost to the offense. So I'm rooting for JT Sanders. But again, like having him being your pass catching tight end, Tommy Trimble that can do both pass catching and blocking. You have Mitchell Evans, that's a really big body that can block as well. So a lot of diversity at tight end, but really excited to see how he, performs in training camp and preseason, and just continues to be a big part of the offense moving forward. He mentioned Amari Barno, who I actually didn't know was still on the team, to be honest with you. But he mentioned Amari Barno had a procedure to clean out his knee. Canales said that it was pretty similar to the Trimble situation, where the medical staff pretty much introduced an opportunity to help him, said that, hey, we can help you with this. This will be a quick cleanup and then be out there during training camp. And it was the same knee he had a tear on it back in 2023. So Amari Barno should be ready for training camp, but it's just something to keep an eye on to see, one, can he make the team? Will he be a good solid depth piece? But can he stay healthy with the knee? He also mentioned and reiterated a point about how they want to be a running football team. And I mentioned this before in other videos, and I'll mention again, where I understand why they didn't run the ball as much as he may have wanted to, because you had Chuba Hubbard, that obviously is solid, but then you you had Miles Sanders, who was not. He only played well at the end of the season, the last game of the season. You didn't really have any depth there at running back. So now that you have Rico Dowdle that you picked up from the Cowboys, can he? To me, especially because they both are 1,000-yard receivers last year, and they both can catch out of the backfield. There should be no excuse, unless obviously, like if we're down a lot of points, there should be no excuse why Dave Canales shouldn't run the ball as much as he wants to. And I think we should definitely be able to see that this season coming up. We should see a lot of running football games. We especially closing out. Like that's what he wants to do, is he wants to close out football games by running it down their throat. And I think that's great. So again, being able to have a balance of running down your throat, play action, throwing down the field, that's what you want. But now, you have the offensive line that's they're all back. You have the depth that's there. Everybody's healthy. You have a great backup running back in Rico Dowdle. There's no excuse why we can't run the ball as much as he would like to. So the fact that he reiterated that, I liked, because I do want us to continue to do that. And then at the end of practice today, Andy Dalton, he had a really nice pass to Hunter Renfrow around a very crowded defender spot in the end zone. Steam, to me, is really starting to pick up with Renfrow making this team. Dave Canales mentioned how he's just constantly making plays out there, and it's getting to the point now where he's making so many plays. He should make the team, especially if he goes into training camp and continues to play well, because Hunter Renfrow, like this is Adam Thielen's last year. He hasn't announced that yet, but this is pretty much his last year. Hunter Renfrow is the younger version of Adam Thielen. If you can get Hunter Renfrow again back to how he was when he played for the Raiders, that is a steal. We want that. People that are saying like, oh, he's not going to make the team. Like, why would you not want him to make the team? This guy is so shifty. He's a great route runner. He's the exact type of receiver that Price excels with, because of he's a really good tactician, wide receiver, route runner. So this is someone that I want to make the team. And if he continues to make plays like he has been, I don't see him not making it. I just don't see it. So, again, training camp, it's going to come up here end of July. Again, I'm not going to know they haven't announced the date yet, but whenever they do, I'll post it on Twitter and let you guys know. But it's good. Training camp, whenever it starts, we're going to really dive into the position battles, who's heating up, who's cooling down. Are they going to take 6 receivers, 7 receivers? We're going to go into all that in depth pretty much weekly until it gets closer to preseason. So, and then we'll sprinkle some stuff in between. But I do have some things in the woodworks right now where I'm going to be making 4 different episodes, and really 3 different episodes of basically comparing us to how do we stand in the NFC South. So comparing our team to the division rivals, the Saints, the Falcons, the Bucks. So we're going to do one episode talking about each team, who those players are, their strength, their weaknesses, and how do they stack up against us. So I'm going to kind of get into a deep dive into that. I'll probably do that before training camp, to be honest with you, and then I might do like a recap, or I might do like a kind of an updated version of that, or a quick updated version of that as preseason starts to unwind before week 1. So I just want to kind of give you guys an idea of like what I'm going to be doing coming up. So again, please like the video, subscribe, really helps me build this podcast. I want to be able to create a platform where people can come, have fun, enjoy talking about Carolina football, and just engage. Like you guys watching, I want you guys to comment and just kind of, to talk with me, let me know like what you think, do you agree with what I say? Do you disagree with what I say? Is there a certain thing that you want me to talk about? That type of thing. I want to be able to engage with you guys versus you just listen to me. I want there to be obviously a balance to that, but I want to be able to really just get to know you guys, be able to communicate with you, and just have you a part of the show in a way. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and I will let you guys know, again, when the next video will be. Try to, if you're not subscribed to my Twitter, go to my Twitter, I have a TikTok, Instagram. So just subscribe to those so that way you get updated with everything as far as when I go live, when I'm going to be discussing all that stuff. So again, thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.